time to buckle up. As you know, we have what President Trump is calling Liberation Day on Wednesday. It's going to be very interesting to see what actually gets announced, what other countries might do in retaliation. And we have consumer sentiment, collapsing. We've got a Fed that is full of uncertainty. I'm really glad that at the beginning of the year, we warned you that the first 6 months of 2025 were going to be chaotic. This week, God, I really hope this is the most chaotic week of the 6-month journey. However, history says it won't be, but one can hope. I do want you to set your alarms for 4 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Pacific. I have an interview with, obviously, Dan Bird that goes live. We actually recorded it yesterday because I need to do my taxes today. So right after this, I will be heading to the tax man to go over my 2024 and see how much money I owe the IRS. Yeah, it only sucks one day a year to make a lot of money. And well, today, that's today for me. So I am not looking forward to the tax bill that is coming. But that's my problem, not yours. So let's get into what is coming this week. Let's talk about the key economic reports. Tuesday, we have auto sales. We also get the first of 3 jobs reports. It's the JOLTS report. It is expected to have 7.7 million job openings. Remember, I think it was 2 years ago now, we peaked at over 10 million. So again, quite down a lot since then. And we will start the series of Fed speeches with one on Tuesday. Wednesday, we get the second of 3 jobs report. It is called the ADP report. Think private payrolls. And again, we will have one Fed speaker. Thursday, we will get initial jobless claims. Again, we are kind of anchored around that 220 level, 224, something like that. We're watching to see if that stays or goes higher. We will have 2 Fed speeches on Thursday. And then Friday, the big number of the week, Bureau of Labor Statistics, BLS, with the jobs number, job creation, what will be for the month of March. It is expected to come in at 140,000. Last month, just so you remember, was 151,000. So still triple digits, but down significantly. I hadn't thought about this pre-roll, but hey, this is live. Why don't we just put it out there now? I'm actually going to take the under. I actually think jobs created will have 2 digits, like 89,000 or 92,000. I do not think for some reason we will have triple-digit job creation in March. Of course, I hope I am wrong, but we shall see. Unemployment rate is expected to stay stable at 4.1%. I did quite a bit of reading this weekend about the jobs market, and most people feel that we will not see the impact from federal layoffs in this month's number. It may be more impactful next month. So let's stay tuned for that. And then Friday, we close out the week with 3 Fed speeches, including the man himself, Jerome Powell. So lots of market moving things. And again, I actually like that there's Fed speeches after Liberation Day, which I believe is Wednesday. That will give the Fed a chance to respond, because I have a whole bunch of Fed quotes, but the big thing that they're saying now is uncertainty. It's getting kind of annoying. But again, hopefully we get clarity on Wednesday and we can start moving from there. I don't know if you saw Lululemon. Lululemon on Friday reported a beat top line, which means they sold a lot of yoga pants. They beat bottom line, which means they made a lot of money selling yoga pants. However, they did what I expect a lot of companies to do, is they had very weak guidance. Folks, we are about to kick off into earnings season, big earnings season in about 2 weeks with the big banks. I expect nearly everyone to do all they can to talk down future quarters, right? I believe it would be prudent for every executive to talk about, hey, challenging times, consumer, businesses, yada, yada, yada. We want to lower expectations. Again, what is the CEO, CFO's job on these earnings calls is to basically set the company up for success. So if you are in an environment where there's complete chaos and uncertainty, why not use this to your advantage? Why not lower the bar and use that to your advantage for the next 3, 6, 9 months? I expect lots of companies, probably greater than 50%, to reduce expectations. But hey, we'll start to see that in a couple of weeks. Young Americans talking about a vibe session, something we haven't heard in a while. At least I haven't read about a vibe session. Basically, young Americans are pointing out signs that we're in a recession. They're going to TikTok and Instagram and pointing out things that they see. That means we are in a recession. And again, folks, recessions they absolutely can become self-fulfilling prophecies. If enough consumers create this momentum that scares other consumers into this almost vortex of doom, they will conserve and they will create a recession all by themselves. I do want to shout out somebody who actually went to my website, onerentalatatime.com, and went to my store. Val went ahead and bought one of my t-shirts. I don't talk about my swag enough, my hat, t-shirts, and coffee mugs. But thanks, Val, for going to onerentalatatime.com, visiting the store. You bought a t-shirt that says cash flow over everything. Kind of reminded me of the old, I think it was NWA, Straight Outta Compton record that I listened, or the cover. Anyways, that's the kind of music I listened to in high school. So there we go. So I talked about on the Friday wrap up with Ty about an article I had just started reading. It was a gentleman named Ed Dowd, D-O-W-D. You can search him on Twitter or X. He basically, the net of the story is he believes we are entering a short but deep recession. You've heard lots of people, including Dan Bird, myself, and others, talk about a short and shallow recession. Let's try to put some context around either. What is short? Short is 6 to 9 months. Okay, that's short, just so we're clear. Now, what is the delta between shallow and deep? I believe, and again, this is just my opinion, a shallow recession will take negative GDP to about 1.5%. In my experience, most people don't feel negative 1%. However, with an economy the size of ours, if you start approaching -2 or heaven forbid -3% GDP, that is when we all feel it. We all see it. So I believe what Ed Dowd is basically saying is, hey, guys, we have a timing problem. We have 1/3, we have 3 people that contribute to our economy: consumers, enterprise, businesses, and government. Those are the 3 things. Consumers being the biggest, but those are the only 3 legs of the stool. Ed basically says the government is doing everything they can to reduce spending. So one of the legs is getting shorter. Number 2, enterprises. Enterprises are frozen. They don't know what to do. They have no clarity on tariffs. They have no clarity on taxes. They have no clarity on regulations. They're not hiring. They're not investing. They're not doing this. They're not doing that. The second leg of the stool gets smaller. And now we have the largest leg on the stool, the consumer, being inundated with fear and tariffs and confusion and all of this. And Ed's point is, if that leg breaks, game over, deep, dark recession. He could be right. He could be right. 2025 could be nasty. However, I do want to give you the silver lining. Ed's real point, while it is a scary read to begin with, his basic point is 2026 and on could be, his opinion is we could be entering the biggest golden age since the 1950s. So ask yourself, is 9 months of pain worth a decade of goodness? I don't know. That is certainly where Ed is coming down, which I thought was interesting. We did get consumer sentiment on Friday, which I didn't talk about, so we'll do it here. It too is not good, right? Anything dealing with the consumer here recently is not good. As always, though, let's not forget, we talked about this earlier in the week. Watch what consumers do, not what consumers say. That's a big difference. We are definitely seeing that. That said, consumer sentiment is down and down again. Also, inflation expectations are higher, both for 1 year, 3 years, and 5 years. Not good. Gold, hope you have some gold out there. Gold has hit its 50th all-time high in the last 12 months, which is a good run. GDP now, forecasting that Q1 is going to be a recession, folks, or at least negative GDP. If you go to GDP now, Atlanta Fed, you're actually going to see two numbers. You're going to see the first number, which is big and scary, at negative 2.8. You will see on their chart, they have what's called a gold adjustment. And again, they're not forecasting, they're now casting, which is a very different form. They're basically taking inputs as they come in and modeling it. Now casting saying negative. GDP will be negative 0.5%. If that is true, we have had our first of what might be 2 negative quarters, with Q2 likely following through. We do have car repos jumping to the highest levels in 15 years, 1.73 million in 2024. Just like all of these scary metrics, car repos, credit card defaults, foreclosures, bankruptcies, all of these things that you see the doomers talking about, every time I see one of these, I look back at what happened in 22, 21, 22, and 23. In every single case, car repos, credit cards, bankruptcies, delinquencies, all of them were artificially compressed, 21, 22, 23. So all we're seeing right now is the snapback of what should have been foreclosures, or in this case, repossessions, in an earlier period. Folks, I've said it many times. We committed lots of financial engineering to artificially prop up the economy. And now we've got to let the bad decisions go. If you bought a car with a $1,200 payment and your income is $2,000, sorry, you should lose that car. I mean, that's just financial suicide. But for a long time, that just wasn't the case. But now they're coming for the car. The doomers don't do themselves justice by pointing at a chart. They forget that we were artificially low for 3 years. So of course it's supposed to look ugly. I do want to congratulate one more person, another fan of the channel, David. David joined school yesterday. David, do yourself a favor, introduce yourself, respond, get up to level 2 and level 3, unlock thousands of dollars in education for free. Also find the accountability group that works for you. You have 6 to choose from. Let's shout out Mississippi. I don't know that we've talked about the great state of Mississippi ever on this channel, but Mississippi has dropped state income tax. I think, I could be wrong, but I think that makes them the 14th state with no income tax. I got to look that up. I don't know if that's true. Maybe somebody in the notes can let me know. But yes, Mississippi has dropped state income tax. Shout out them. All right, let's close with some Fed speak. Let's go to Susan Collins first. Tariff-induced inflation looks inevitable. Inevitable. She suspects the Fed will be on hold longer. Anybody feeling good about my bet that we have no cuts in 25? Anybody feeling good about that? The Fed's going to have a horrible job in June. If we have negative 2 quarters, but we have sticky inflation, I don't want to be I don't want to be the Fed in June. May, I think they hold, but June, that's going to be a tough one. What else? We got Fed Daily. Friday's inflation data confirms my own decreased confidence in my model. She's basically saying her dot plot is broken. I am 100% focused on inflation. Progress has been flat. So she's declaring inflation her number one priority. Susan, oh, wow. Fed Daily said the quiet part out loud. Stagflation is tail risk and cannot be ruled out. Ouch. 2 rate cuts coming is still reasonable for 2025. I don't know, Susan, or Daly, sorry, excuse me, Mary Daly. I think you're going to change that opinion here shortly, but we'll see. And then lastly, policy is in a good place, but we have to be patient. Fed President Barkin, we are not in an economic downturn. Have you looked at GDP now? Well, let's see. The Fed is waiting for uncertainty to clear. There's that dreaded word again, uncertainty. You've got 2,000 PhD guys. Let's do something. One more from Fed Collins. It's too early to tell if data is turning weaker. We're watching inflation expectations is important right now. Again, the consumers are expecting it. Holding rates steady for longer seems appropriate. So again, I would expect no rate cuts in May. I think June is the time to get interested. And then finally, folks, I wasn't able to go live today in school because, again, I got to run to my tax man right after this. But I will be going live in school next Sunday, 8 a.m. If you want to come ask me questions, all you have to do is join school. I will put a Zoom link in probably tomorrow, but I'll put it in for sure. And we will be going live. I will do my best to record it this time. But I enjoy speaking with you. It's part of the value I want to give you for being a part of the community. It's only 67 pennies a day. You get a couple hours with me a month. I'm going to try to do 2 of these a month, so 2 different Sundays. It's just the time I have available. But I hope to see you there. And join school. Go to my website, onerentalatatime.com. Check out my store. See if there's any swag that you want. And again, set your alarms for 4 p.m. Pacific because this conversation with Dan is a little frightening. It's a little bit frightening. So you're going to want to see it. Take care. Later. Bye.